now we are going to have a chat about applying to be a midwife, being a student midwife, that kind of thing. Best advice for people wanting to be a midwife. I think contrary to popular belief, I've talked a lot about the stresses and the pits of being a midwife, especially in the NHS at the moment. But if you really want to be a midwife, the best advice I can give you is just do it. Just do it. We need you. We need people that want to be midwives. And the logistical, the sensible part of that answer would be get some really good work experience, learn the application process. But if you're up for it, if you've understood the role of a midwife, if you can't imagine doing anything else, do it. Just do it. Get involved. We'd love to have you. So the first question is it hard to get into? And the answer is yes. I'm sure you all have heard over the years from news sources and things like that, oh, we are short 5,000 midwives. Well, we have been for a long time. This country has been short of midwives. However, there's a difference between having a shortage of midwives and having 5,000 jobs available that are funded by the government. So although there are desperate needs for midwives, the university places do not match that shortage. So you're often talking about thousands of applicants going for, I would say on average, most unis' cohorts is probably between 50 and 100, depending on the size of the uni and how many placement hospitals they have. So you're talking about a lot of applicants for a single place, and it is very, very competitive. The interview process and the process of applying is significant. It involves personal statement writing, it involves interview prep, it often involves English and maths tests, and different universities can ask for other things as well. So occupational health, CRB, even once you've kind of passed your interview, you've got there's some hoops to jump. So yeah, it is hard to get into. There are some people that apply once, twice, 3 times. People that I trained with had applied several times. So if you really want it, you can make it work, but it is competitive and you should go into it with your eyes open. That doesn't mean you're not good enough. It's just so densely oversubscribed. Do you have to go to university to be a midwife? Effectively, yes. Although there are lots of different routes to get into university and to become a midwife, effectively all the training does need to have some kind of university level education. So we'll talk a bit more about it later on, but there is a new midwifery apprenticeship, which is where the maternity care assistants are able to do an apprenticeship alongside their work, but even they have an element of university work. So yes, the answer is you do have to go to university. At some point you need to do some university level education. What GCSEs, qualifications, so on and so forth, do you need to apply? This is really lengthy and quite complex. So the first thing that I would start with is looking at what would be your preferred university. So it might be that you're a mature student, you have kids, so you're looking at your local universities. Might be that you're leaving home, you're leaving school, and you can go anywhere, in which case have a look at your top 5 that you would apply for. And what you're going to want to do is go on their website or go to an open day and ask them about their entry requirements for your specific situation. So in terms of when you're thinking about your GCSEs, generally they want an equivalent of GCSE English and Maths at a decent level. They are often partial to a science. So if you're thinking about triple science, go for it. Definitely anything with any kind of biology, anatomy and physiology type stuff always goes down really well, because it's a big portion of that in midwifery. And the allied sciences as well, so thinking about health and social care, thinking about psychology, that kind of stuff. Anything that you think might have some transferable skills to midwifery. And you've also got to think about, with your GCSEs, if you need to go on to A level to get something that they need, your specific university wants a biology A level, then you probably need to take a science GCSE to get into the biology A level. A levels wise, again, science is really valued. Doesn't necessarily have to be biology. I personally think biology applies the most to midwifery, but it can be any kind of science. It can be psychology for some people. Each university is really different. There are lots of people as well, especially mature students, that do an access course. So an access is kind of like distance learning, and instead of getting grades and things like that you do for A levels and GCSEs, you get credits. And equally, those entry requirements will be on all the websites in terms of how many credits you need, and potentially which credits at which level, like whether it's distinction or merit, that you need to get into the course. They do value other stuff as well. It might be that you've done a degree before in something like biomedical science, which is your proof of recent study. Might be that you're a nurse already and you can do the 18-month conversion course, which some universities offer. But the first port of call for me would be to start looking at your preferred universities and figure out their entry requirements, because equally, depending on kind of the notoriety of the university and the level of education or of the places they get there, there are some unis that want 3 A's at A level. My uni wanted 3 B's at A level. It's all different, so you just have to do your research. This person has said they are doing health and social care at college. Is this the right path? I don't see why not. It kind of depends exactly what qualification you're doing. I don't know if it's a BTEC or an A level or what it is. But health and social care is a really good option. Again, you'll want to look into the entry requirements of the course that you're specifically looking at, and get you aiming your sights for the grade or the level that they want that qualification to be. Is there such a thing as midwife apprenticeships? Well, since you asked, yes, there is. Just recently, in the last couple of years, certain trusts, certain universities have started offering an apprenticeship type scheme to people that are already training or are existing maternity care assistants and maternity support workers. So if you're not aware, maternity care assistants and support workers are people that work with us on the wards in all aspects of midwifery. They are really valued members of staff and are really often highly skilled. They do things like taking observations. Some MCAs can take blood. They write in all the documentation. They can check babies over. Some even go out on their own in the community. It's a really, really interesting role, but it's not a registered role, so they're not responsible for anything like the midwives are. They don't do full labour care or anything like that. But these girls that have just started, the trust that I work for, I work with a couple of girls doing the midwifery apprenticeship, and they are working as MSWs alongside doing their studies as a midwife. So the way I understand it is actually that their course is 4 years rather than 3, because they're working in there as well. So their kind of schedule is quite up in the air, bless them. So they might do 4 weeks of placement with the hospital, then they might do a couple of weeks of uni work, then they might go back and do 4 weeks of normal work as maternity support worker. So they are earning a bit of money, which is nice. But they are working really, really hard. And kind of being the maternity care assistant is their proof of recent knowledge base. And the knowledge base you gain as a maternity care assistant is incredible. So moving on to what I'm about to go into, which is work experience. For me, if you are really thinking about it and you need to get some work experience in the meantime, applying to be a maternity care assistant or maternity support worker at your local hospital is possibly one of the best ways that you can kind of get that experience. You cannot access hospital work experience very easily at all these days in any area, but particularly maternity. I don't think I know of any hospitals now that just let people like come and volunteer. So becoming a maternity care assistant really gives you an in-depth idea of the role of the midwife and what you're doing. But in terms of other work experience, it can be really hard to get work experience that is valued enough. So you have to kind of think outside the box. So things like volunteering at local groups, breastfeeding support groups, mum and baby groups, baby massage, baby sensory classes, children's centres, that type of thing. Maybe you know someone like me that runs private classes, and you could observe some private classes. Maybe you can do some work in a care home or other places like that. You know, anything where you can justify that what you're doing is providing you with transferable skills that will make you a better midwife. And that could be anything, you know, it really could be quite broad depending on what you can get access to. But yeah, the work experience is really what makes you stand out in your personal statement in your interview. And when you're competing with thousands of people, it's what you really need to set you apart. So I would, yeah, as I said, try and think outside the box and really think about how everything you can do can provide you with skills that would make you a better midwife. Personal statement prep. So when you apply to university, you have to do what's called a personal statement. It is, I think they say 4,000 characters, which is a really random amount of, because it's letters rather than words, but it is the bane of everyone's life. It's really difficult to big yourself up for 1,000 words or whatever it is. The best advice I can give you is be concise. Really try not to waffle. Try and get all your points. Try and get as many different points about why you are going to be a good midwife in as possible, rather than really waffling about certain experiences and missing out in the depth of others. What a lot of people seem to miss out on is they don't understand the role of the midwife adequately. You know, lots of people think, oh, it's so nice, Nancy gets to cuddle babies all day long. Actually, very, very small portion of my job is working with babies. The majority of my job is working with pregnant mums. So make sure that you really have a good grasp of what you're going to be learning about and what the role of the midwife is going to be. Make sure that you get someone to read it through for you, multiple people if you can, so that they can make sure that the grammar and the punctuation and stuff is great. When in things are that competitive, you might be on an equal playing field with someone that lives next door, and if your punctuation is out, then that's the difference. So make sure that you are really valuing that, and yeah, make it personal. Make sure that they can like know who you are and see you as a midwife, but don't like overwhelm them with just personal anecdotes. You've got to show how those personal experiences will work and what they will bring to you in your studies and as you qualify. And there is loads of resources out there for structuring a personal statement and templates for a personal statement and all this kind of stuff. So make the most of it, use it. So yeah. Interview prep. Now, all midwifery places will be interviewed for. Sure, a lot of it at the moment is probably being done on Zoom or Teams or whatever. But generally, every midwifery place is interviewed for. They will also get you to do probably some English and maths tests. I personally had a group interview, then GCSE English and maths test, like the equivalent of, and then I did a single like face-to-face interview. And interview prep is very similar to personal statement. First and foremost, make sure you know what you've written in your personal statement, because they will ask you about stuff from your personal statement. If you've made up that you've done this certain work experience and they ask you about it and you can't, find the words to talk about it, then you're absolutely scuppered. Generally, they will ask you similar sorts of things. Every interview is obviously different, but they usually want to have a chat with you about some kind of article or book you might have read that's relevant. So personally, before your interview, I would maybe buy a couple of midwifery journals, read some articles, see what the hot topics are. Might be something like delayed cord clamping, might be group B strep, might be that it's something to do with COVID vaccine at the moment. That's a really hot topic. That kind of thing. They'll want you to discuss why you think it's important and what you understand of it and things like that. They generally will ask you something about the other kind of integral parts of being a midwife. So teamwork, how are you going to work in a big team? Understanding of safeguarding and the protocols and why midwifery is a safeguarding job as much as it is a caring job, and things like that. So generally all kind of in that neck of the woods, but try and practice that kind of stuff. Practice your interview skills, so that you come across really confident. Try and be, again, concise. Get your point out, and if you've got it out, you don't need to repeat yourself. If they need something extra from you, they would generally prompt it. So if they've asked you a question about what you've learned from a said article and you talk about the article but you don't say what you've learned, they will prompt you and say, what did you learn? So, you know, we're not out to get you. They're not out to get you in an interview. They want to get the answers from you. But yeah, again, there's loads of resources on YouTube and books and things like that, that can help you with interview prep. And so I think that kind of brings us to the end of applying and things to be a student midwife. I suppose I could do another one in the series of what it's like to be a student midwife and student midwife questions. I mean, I can imagine, based on the responses I got from this, that there's going to be lots more. So if there's anything else you think I can do to help, if there is lists of resources and books and you know, YouTube channels or websites that I can recommend, then please let me know. I'm more than happy to do that. I'm really passionate about helping people and empowering people to go into midwifery, because we need these valuable people in the profession. I used to go back to my grammar school, my secondary school, and talk to the girls there about personal statement prep and help them and things like that. So something I've done a lot of. And I mean, I'm not like personally offering to mentor each of you through it, because there's lots of you that clearly want to do it. But anything that you guys think might be helpful, more questions, or yeah, if there's another kind of video in this series that you might want, then please let me know you can let me know on my personal Instagram. You can let me know on the Scriven Family Instagram, or you can let me know in the comments below. And I would love to hear from you, because I can, as you can probably tell from these videos, talk about midwifery endlessly, because it's been my whole life up until this baby, I'm sure. The only other thing that I can talk about this much is midwifery. So I hope this was helpful to some of you. I hope it was interesting to the others of you. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.